While in exile, he tried to engage in some rebel activities.
Abantu babetu badembe okumpita kyebaagala okumpita. Nga bwe nabagamba bwe naliko wano.
When Museveni said that he used to be member of a rebel group or he was connected to a certain rebel group, this is Samson Mande just a few years ago saying, come on, he's even just laughing it off. We're going to be looking at the 4 colonels that were linked to the People's Redemption Army. Colonel Samson Mande, Colonel Anthony Kyakabaale, Colonel Edison Muzoora, and Colonel Kizza Besigye. He died in 2011 under mysterious circumstances. He died in October 2025, this year. He's rejoined Museveni, and Kizza Besigye is in prison.
You're watching Mordecai Marissa Live Political Commentary. Please consider subscribing to help grow Uganda's Voices of Struggle ecosystem. Thank you.
I cannot appreciate you enough for using your valuable time to always go on social media, break down things for people.
And yes, indeed, presenting to you from these United States of America. Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening from wherever you're watching us. My name is Mordecai Marissa, and you're welcome to Mordecai Marissa Live. Exactly. Yes, indeed. I will ask you one thing I usually do. Please consider subscribing to this feed. Become part of the Mordecai Marissa Live community. Okay? And please engage in this conversation down in the comment section. Can we just jump right in? I think we should. Now, ladies and gentlemen, when former Luwero War veteran and NRM or NRA defector Colonel Samson Mande rejoined his family, went back to home, as he mentioned, Museveni was quick to say, when he was inviting him to say hello to people, he was very quick to say he used to be a rebel. He went into exile and engaged in rebel activities. I think I should play those words and then we can watch the entire thing.
I'm happy to welcome back into peaceful Uganda Colonel Samson Mande, that had fled into exile on account of apparently some internal intrigue. While in exile, he tried to engage in some rebel activities.
While in exile, he tried to engage in some rebel activities. I think we should pause for now. Museveni is referring to the rebel activities that were allegedly committed under the infamous, controversial People's Redemption Army. And this conversation tonight, we're going to be asking questions about the People's Redemption Army. But not only that, ask the questions about the whereabouts of the names of folks that were linked to this People's Redemption Army. I got news for you. 2 of them are dead, 1 of them is in prison, and another has joined the Museveni regime. Museveni, like I said, is referring to the infamous People's Redemption Army. This was a rebel group that was allegedly formed in the early 2000s. And what was the intention? To overthrow the regime of Yoweri Kaguta Museveni. Up to now, it is a highly controversial. It was then referred to as a very secretive entity. And it said that its existence and membership and the activities were committed in areas of Eastern Congo, but they were never disputed. Neither were they 100% verified. Many people continue asking questions. Up to now, there's an ongoing debate in our body politic and security circles about the existence or non-existence of the People's Redemption Army. When Museveni says, hey, he engaged in some rebel activities, he's referring to that. He was member of the People's Redemption Army. Ladies and gentlemen, this man we are talking about, Samson Mande, claims to have helped Dr. Kizza Besigye flee Uganda into exile in the early 2000s. just like Museveni is claiming now, the government of Uganda, led by him, has always claimed that the People's Redemption Army was a very, very serious rebel threat with the links to opposition figure, retired Dr. Kizza Besigye, to the extent that in 2005, William Lassie Swing, the UN Special Representative to the DRC, reportedly implicated the People's Redemption Army as one of the several foreign armed groups that were operating in eastern DRC. When this dominated news at the UN and Uganda got to know about it, the Forum for Democratic Change, then led by Dr. Kizza Besigye, was so quick to respond, asking clarity about the allegations from the United Nations. FDC asked the United Nations to reveal details about the People's Redemption Army, who led this rebel group, where it operated, what was the size of this rebel group, and its financials at that time. Dr. Kizza Besigye, as a political leader in Uganda, was linked to this rebel group. Actually, Dr. Kizza Besigye was arrested and charged with treason and terrorism, all, and partially linked on these allegations of being member of the People's Redemption Army. Just like it is now, even then, many argued, like I argue today, that these were all politically motivated charges. Now, when he says that, he engaged in, let's listen in again to what he says, okay?
When, however, our cadres contacted him in Sweden,
When our cadres contacted him in Sweden. So is Museveni trying to say Samson Mande was living in Sweden and was rebelling against his regime from Sweden, or he was one of the financiers of the People's Redemption Army? More questions.
he happily agreed to come back and disconnect himself from the rebel activities.
He agreed to come back and disconnect himself from rebel activities. Ladies and gentlemen, I think this is the time now to ask questions. What did Samson Mande disconnect himself from? What is this rebel, where were these rebel activities committed? Who were the members in that rebel group that he was connected to? We can just have Museveni say, oh, ladies and gentlemen, we spend resources, money and time we do not have as a country to try to dismantle the People's Redemption Army. So this is the time to ask questions. Now that Samson Mande is with Museveni, will he tell us? When all this, when the United Nations made those allegations, there were unrest within Uganda. It drew international criticism and attention. Many argued, like I said, this was a tool to silence the opposition. And I believe it was. Because even up to now, there's no clear evidence of the People's Redemption Army operations. Not even one. Not in Eastern Democratic Republic of Congo. No bases that we know. There's not been any reported attack. There's not been any reported leadership. The structure. Tell us. And it has not been publicly confirmed. Like Samson Mande hasn't actually said that he leads that. I think a few days ago I played you a video where he was asked about, are you part of the, I think this interviewer asked him, are you part of the Allied Democratic Forces, ADF, or are you part of any rebel group? Samson Mande was so quick to say, I have never. Listen to this. I mean, don't take my word for it.
Kakati nga tugenda maaso okuwuza abantu bakutya abantu balowooza oli Ssaabayekera abantu bakwogerako ng'omuntu alina amagye Congo gw'omu kwa ADF ebyogerako ki abantu babbeetu baddembe okwempita kye baagala okumpita nga bwera bagamba bwe naliko wano.
When Museveni said that he used to be a member of a rebel group or he was connected to a certain rebel group, this is Samson Mande just a few years ago saying, Come on, he's even just laughing it off.
Ssaabanyekera wa Uganda omukulembeze w'eggwanga Kaguta Yoweri Museveni yatuyigiriza obutiyekera nga tuli bakadogo
tegeera
kati nze bwe bampita omuyekera siraba lwaki nkyewakana bwobaawo ensonga y'okuyekera lwaki siyekera oli bwampita renegade nze erinnya lye baagala okumpita nyinza okulijjaamu in one way or another so sikiraba ng'ekibi baddembe okumpita gye baagala
twagala tugendeko.
So he says you can refer to me as a rebel, but I am not. He actually went on, if you went and watched this entire thing, he says, if really opposing the Museveni regime makes me a rebel, then I am one. I would say the same words. I don't think I'm linked to any rebel group. But if opposing the Museveni regime makes me a rebel, then probably I am. But Samson Mande was not the only one that was linked to this. This is why, or this is where we look at the conversation of the four Kanos. And I wrote it down here for you. I'll show you here. I don't know whether you can see. I need to, okay, probably do this. I think I need, all right, this is cool. Okay. We're going to be looking at the four Kanos that were linked to the People's Redemption Army. Kano Samson Mande, Kano Anthony Kyakabaale, Kano Edison Muzoora, and Kano Kizza Besigye. He died in 2011 under mysterious circumstances. He died in October 2025, this year. He's rejoined Museveni, and Kizza Besigye is in prison. All these were linked to the People's Redemption Army. Now, we get back to this later, but let's continue listening to what Museveni had to say when he was inviting the gentleman to speak to the audience at Kororo ceremonial grounds.
Let them bring Mande there so that he can talk to you himself. There. Abalina Mande bamulete. Mumukwesewa yaba Mande tono lya bugondo. Take him there.
That sounds like an order to me. Take him there.
Take him there on the microphone there. You can pass here, don't mind.
Here in Uganda, I have two homes. The first home is my country. Nobody shall be surprised that I'm here.
We have to be surprised. We have all the reasons to be surprised. After having referred to as a rebel, we need to understand, did we have people lose lives in these rebel activities that we were involved into? So this is Samson Mande, Kano Samson Mande. But just like I said, that's not the only one that was. Another one was Kano Anthony Kyakabaale, who was frequently, over and over again, associated with the People's Redemption Army. Kyakabaale continued to deny being part of this armed group. Another one was Colonel Edison Muzoora. But you need to know something. In 2011, Edison Muzoora's body was mysteriously dumped outside his home in Kashari Bushenyi, my home district. He had reportedly been missing for about 3 years prior. Up to now, There's not been any form of investigation into the circumstances of his death. They were never fully explained. His return, his death, and unannounced up to now. Then it sparked public outrage and suspicion. No one is telling us this is what happened to Edison Muzoora. He died. This is why we need to ask questions to Samson Mande. I don't know whether he's open to conversations about PRA. Because, like I told you, Edison Muzoora is dead. And then you have another one was none other than Colonel Anthony Kyakabaale. Yeah, and just like others that were linked to the People's Redemption Army, around 2001, after the presidential election in which Dr. Kizza Besigye challenged Museveni, tensions grew, and Kyakabaale, among others, became disillusioned with the Museveni regime. Thereafter, he fled Uganda, first to Rwanda, then after to Sweden, 2003. While in exile, he was alleged, again, it was alleged by the government of Museveni, to be the founding member of the People's Redemption Army. Up to now, we don't have answers. Like I said, he died this year in 2025 without clear answers about this rebel group. And now, Samson Mande, who has rejoined the NRM. So the conversation should be around these four people. Now that we still have two of them, the four colonels, Colonel Anthony Kyakabaale is dead. Colonel Edison Muzoora is dead. We have two colonels. Dr. Kizza Besigye, Colonel Dr. Kizza Besigye, who denies, whom I believe was implicated, just like they asked questions to the UN in 2005. Now, the other person that's going to have to tell us about the People's Redemption Army is Colonel Samson Mande. You realize that when Museveni invited him on stage to speak to people, when he started speaking, he didn't deny for having involved in rebel activities. And the government alleged all these rebel activities and atrocities were committed under the People's Redemption Army. So will Mande tell us? Besigye denies. The other two are dead. Mande should tell us. I don't know. I don't know if I'm just my curiosity is overhyped, but I shouldn't say that. We need answers to all these questions. Now that I said, we have, these are the people we got. We need answers from these people. At least this one has rejoined Museveni. Colonel Samson Mande has rejoined Museveni. Colonel Edison Muzoora died in 2011. Colonel Anthony Kyakabaale died this year in 2025. And then we have retired Colonel Dr. Kizza Besigye. All of these are said to have been members of the People's Redemption Army. This is why we need answers to this question. Who were the members, all the members of the People's Redemption Army? Where was the leadership structure? Who was its financier? Where are the places, where did they commit these infamous rebel activities that we do not know? And are we allowed now to ask questions to the United Nations? When it said, oh, the People's Redemption Army are committing atrocities in the Democratic Republic of Congo, especially in the eastern region, Can we now ask questions? Will some folks at the UN ask Mande, who was linked to this? Where is this coming from? Who was linked to this? Very many questions and hardly any answer. The People's Redemption Army. I guess you watched my video where it was a Luganda video where I was asking Samson Mande when he says, oh, NRM is my home. I am back home. No one should be surprised. When I was asking questions, hey, so, because he said that he was disillusioned by some sort of youthful idealism. This interview he gave to a guy in Germany, it is, I think, a few years ago. Let's check here. Let's check how many years ago was this interview produced. 7 years ago. He doesn't look like a young man here to me. He doesn't look like a young man. But when he was speaking to Museveni, oh, when I was a kid, I felt like a kid and I acted like a kid. This is when he was being accused of being a rebel in Uganda. He doesn't like a kid to me, not even a youth. Are we just going to ignore and be like, okay, Samson Mande has told us he's never been part of this rebel group, so we should actually ignore that. Move on. This is where I usually have special appreciation for folks like mother to Yasin Sechitoleko, commonly known as Machete, who up to now refuses her son to admit for having rebelled or being a terrorist against Uganda. Because there's no way, there's no distancing of People's Redemption Army. There's no way this guy, what's his name, Samson Mande, is going to distance himself from that. Ladies and gentlemen, money was spent. Money was allocated to fight the People's Redemption Army that didn't exist to me unless information is provided to the contrary of my argument here. This is really, really sad. I would say this is a chapter from the Machiavellian tactics employed by Museveni. Create your own enemies, dismantle those enemies, and pat yourself on the shoulder as a liberator. There's never been People's Redemption Army. I could be wrong, but unless, like I said, no information is revealed, we told details. But until then, this has always been but a facade of a rebel group. Now join us. My name is Mordecai Morisa. This is me looking into the People's Redemption Army. Join us, subscribe, share this video. And if I forget something, please make sure that you write in the comment section and be like, hey, Mordecai, like someone pointed out how Museveni actually told Samson Mande to go and sit. It felt like an order.
A change of behavior. Thank you very much for accepting me back in my home. I'm home to stay. I'm home to contribute to the development I have had and that I have seen. I went when I was bitter, but now I am better and I'm loaded with solutions. I will not look in the past.
I don't look into the past. Is that some sort of a deny of a tactic not to tell us? I'll not look into the past. What do you mean? He should be given an interview before. For example, Colonel Anthony Kyakabaale, when he, before his death in 2025, he went into a deal with Museveni, and then he was just like Samson Mande. He was forgiven. I think they mentioned what was the gentleman's name? General Charles Makahumura, who negotiated his return to Uganda. Then he was forgiven. He offered an apology. And then not long after that, he was promoted to the rank of colonel. And he was officially retired from the Uganda People's Defense Force in 2016. Oh, that happened in 2005. 2015. Then 2016, he was retired. He fled back to Sweden He lived in Sweden, and that's why he died in 2025. So before, because Dr. Kizza Besigye is going to tell us, this didn't happen. Look, I stand with the position of Dr. Kizza Besigye. There's never been a group of rebels called People's Redemption unless no information comes out. But before we lose another guy, Samson Mande, that I know that he's going to die tomorrow, but hey, who knows? I might die today. You should tell us. The country has so many questions. Samson Mande, you have it. There you go. Tell us. Subscribe to the feed, and I would really, really, really appreciate that. See you when you see me.
Did you enjoy what you just watched?
I'm sure they did.
I'm going to guess that you did. How about you consider subscribing to Mordecai Marissa Live YouTube channel? Thank you.